What's up, guys? We have 10 days left on our journey to 2000, and in today's video I want to show you guys my tournament game that I played 2 days ago. It was super fun. Some crazy stuff happened. I still haven't analyzed it with an engine, but I analyzed it alone, and we're gonna do both right now. So I played e4, and I was like, oh, can we finally have a Vienna? I mean, this is only my second game with white. The first game with white, they played the French defense, and I made a simple blunder. And this is the second game. And this game, I'm like, okay, let's get into Vienna. Let's just have an e5 move, some normal moves, please. And of course, my opponent goes c5. And I'm like, great. The Sicilian. But, you know, I've heard that until like 2000 level, Sicilian isn't really recommended. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll go into it. I bring the knight out. And he pushes the e6 pawn. And I know this is an annoying move. And I'm like, you know what? This is an older gentleman. He probably played the Sicilian all his life. I'm not going to let him play into it. So I play a weird move. I don't play what I would normally play here, which is d4, takes. Maybe the pawn pushes, maybe knight comes out. Like all these ideas, I think it's the dragon variation. Like these are the ideas, I think. I'm like, I don't really know these lines at all. Let me just develop my bishop. Okay, then he goes a6 with the clear idea of attacking the said bishop. And when I was talking to another coach about this, another chess coach, he said, why would you develop your bishop here when it's basically looking into nothing? And I said, well, I think it's going to resolve here. I think these things will be traded off and the bishop will be stronger. Plus, worst case scenario, I push the pawn, I reroute it. Like, he's going to be castling kingside. So I feel like this bishop move was fine. Anyway, I go a3. He goes d6, which I thought was a super duper just... How does this move make any sense? You're blocking in your bishop here. You're like not really helping this. It's not aggressive at all. I did calculate if pawn does the center push, takes, and I would just come back, or I would check and then figure stuff out. I don't know. Or just castle, let him take, come in with the check. I don't know. I was looking on weird stuff like this. But after d6, I just castle. I mean, why not? Develops the knight. I protect with the rook. I considered protecting with the pawn, but I didn't want to like put this pawn somewhere yet. I thought maybe there's some use for it here. I didn't want to develop the knight because maybe I'm going to push the c pawn. I'm kind of more hesitant to push pawns because they're permanent moves. So over the board, I kind of think more before I push a pawn, hopefully. So I develop the rook, and then I push a pawn anyway. And the idea here is if the pawn pushes, I take, threatening to take the queen. I mean, this is obviously winning. So, you know, my opponent takes. I take back with the knight. He castles. And then I do the c3 move. This might be the worst move I made in the whole game. This move, right after I made it, I'm like, I don't know why I made that move. The idea for my purposes, like my thinking, was okay, it's going to support a center push, which protects the knight. I like my knight in this position. It also allows my bishop to reroute later on in the future to c2 and have this really nice looking diagonal. But this bishop is blocked in. My knight's not going to have an easy time to come out. So maybe it wasn't the best decision, you know? My opponent, though, provokes me to basically do what I want to do, bring my bishop to c2. So I thought, okay, this is not the worst thing ever, but all my pieces are kind of stuck in the back. Still, I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. The queen comes looking at my knight. I'm expecting the bishop to come. So I go for this weird idea. Stupid, because I should be developing my pieces. Right now, d4 is probably fine. Pawn takes, queen takes. I'm threatening a mate already. Well, not really, because the knight defends. But there's something there. But then I thought, I don't want to give the rook the ability to look into my queen. Although it's going to do it anyway. It's going to just x-ray, look through the pawn and look at my queen. So I would have to be careful with the pawn play anyway. So anyway, I do this weird knight g4 move, thinking, oh, if he takes and I take, this opens up some nice attacks, some nice ideas. d4 also will open up my bishop. He develops a knight, and I'm like, I didn't even see this move. The other idea I had here was, okay, if he does some move like this, I can do this, and then bring my queen in. And this just looks nice. I feel like, oh, if you do this, this just looks terrible for my opponent. And, okay, I mean, computer says it's not, but whatever. I thought this was just pleasant to be in that type of position. Let me delete that variation that I just did. And finally, I go for d4, trying to open up space. I see I have these 2 strong bishops. My queen's going to get into the position. My rook is open. It's just my knight and rook that needs some work. My opponent brings the bishop to b7, a move I've been anticipating, which is a very scary move. Also because queen c6 threatens checkmate. But I bring the knight back. I love moving the same piece 15 times. Brings the rook. I bring the queen because there's some tricks here. If, for example, I ignore and I develop my knight, there's this where this just looks very, very, very scary. For example, here. And you could start piling pressure here. I don't know. Maybe there's some way to get out of it. Really, this doesn't look as bad now that I went through all of that. But it didn't look pleasant. So I bring the queen out of any danger like that. And here I take. Here I take because I realize, oh my god, these knights are super annoying. They're stopping any ideas I have on this diagonal. So I take to try to just open up the position more for my bishops. Knight comes back. I calculate all of this a few moves ahead of time. Queen coming here, queen coming here. Maybe I have some pressure here, some pressure here. It doesn't look that bad in my eyes. I'm thinking, okay, knight has to still develop, but it's okay. And then my opponent does this move, rook d5, and I thought, wow, that's a brilliant move. I thought he's gonna do something like this, and then okay, but this is too slow. I start developing everything. I don't know. But he just goes straight for this rook move. And that's one of my biggest mistakes, probably a lot of people at lower levels, is you're not efficient enough with your moves. So here, I'm start calculating this rook coming here, this really, really, really scary threat. For example, if I just develop the knight and ignore it, I had no idea what I would do in this position. I was so stupidly hesitant to go into this position because I didn't want to double my pawns, but it's kind of really stupid to think this way because my pawns are protected by the king. This is probably a drawn game, right? Maybe. I'm just simplifying the position. But instead of that, I complicate things like I like to, and I go bishop d1. And the idea is just basically to stop this rook threat. But I also go bishop g4, because if takes, then the knight's out of the way. The rook doesn't really have anything because the knight can't protect it anymore. And I thought this was okay. I can make kind of easy moves to develop. And the other idea behind this move is that it stops rook f5. So the rook has no place here. Literally no place it can go. This rook was very frustrating to deal with. I didn't know what to do against it. This is how I was thinking. We'll see what the computer thinks in a second. But anyway, here, again, I love to move the same piece twice. I bring the bishop back. I felt like there was no way to stop this threat. And maybe I could have some tricks here. Also back here, I calculated rook e4, knight takes, bishop takes. And I thought this is great because now this is no threat. The knight doesn't watch it. I'm threatening to have a discovered attack here. It just seemed like a good set of moves until I realized something about it. I don't remember exactly what. That he could just ignore it. I think that's what I realized. And then I'm like, okay, now this looks terrible, right? So anyway, bring the bishop back, and I finally develop my knight. And I know it blocks the bishop and that he has rook g5. But what else am I supposed to do? And here I thought my only move was taking with the pawn because I calculated knight takes, rook here, knight here, pawn here, and I was like, this is terrible, I'm losing. Until I saw, wait, maybe I have queen f2. Now this does blunder a pawn, but I felt like I had no way to give up the pawn, to save that pawn. Anyway, something similar happens, but I take with the knight instead, so my pawn structure is better. And yeah, I'm expecting this, the queen coming here, but he takes right away and simplifies the game for me. And I'm like, whoa, this is like a mistake. This is maybe an inaccurate or a mistake, because it seems like you're just leading me to an endgame where, yeah, I'm down a pawn, but I'm just down a pawn. So I take, trade everything, and I'm okay with trading this. Probably here I should have done something like rook h1 or bring my rook to e5. But I was low on time. I came late to the tournament because the train was delayed, and I was panicking. And I moved my king, which is a dumb move because it loses time. After the knight takes, I have to move the king again. Whereas if I did some move like, I don't know, even this move. The difference in this position is I have a rook that's doing something. Like, you could argue maybe, right? Or whatever. I have an extra move I can make. Anyway, I take, the rook gets in. And here, I think, was my second biggest, or my biggest blunder, if you want to say, of the game. Again, I was low on time. I should have gone g4, essentially pushing the rook away. I was scared of rook f5, but I just stupidly did not see the pawn blocks that. The other thing I was scared of was this counterattack, and I thought, what do I do in this position? But looking at it now, king g3 probably is fine, and the rook is kind of kicked off of this area. It's forced on the back rank, and here I could kind of simplify the game very easily, probably like this, bring the rook in, and this is probably winning for me. I just complete, the rook could, I don't know, maybe the king comes to g2 pawn here, and he has to break through here. And this looks even or winning for me, even more comfortable for me. But instead I go right away for this e5 move, and I completely blunder because the rook gets into my area, and there's nothing I could do here. I mean, I tried, I thought maybe I had some sort of thing, and then I go for a4, which I felt was dumb. I saw he could just push, but I thought, what else do I have? I should have taken my time. I should have gone g3, and I mean, this is still completely losing, I'm guessing, but still. I went a4, tried to push, couldn't get my king in. Once he went to rook d5, I was like, damn, I don't know if I have anything here. And here I was, the last resort was if he promotes this way. But even here is probably completely losing. And I just resigned here. I take, he promotes with check. Easiest thing is just to go to the a file and pick up the pawn. So so I lost this game. I'm now with 1 win and 3 losses. Pretty bad, but it's been fun, so that's cool. All right, let's actually review the game. Computer says I played with 75 versus 85% accuracy. I had 1 blunder, and yeah, that's kind of cool. Let's start the review. So this bishop move is an inaccurate move already, but again, I don't think this is a big deal. I really don't. I think this is fun because who at this level is gonna make such a big difference, big advantage over a neutral game? Like, it's literally 0-0. Like, it does not matter. Now, I would normally play d4 here, takes, and then there's a6. I think there's knight c6. I think there's also g6. Okay, apparently g6 is not a move because of h4, and I could start immediately attacking. Okay, but okay, this is all the ideas here. Anyway, I wanted to play weird, and already he doesn't have the best response because I played a weird move. Maybe I'll do this in tournaments. I'll just play some weird move that doesn't seem that bad. Like, who cares if it's an inaccurate move? And then I played a3. Computer liked d4 right away. I guess, like, the idea in the Sicilian is a lot of times to go d4. I think because these pawns are just very annoying to deal with. But anyway, I went a3, I castled, I brought my rook out, which I'm happy to say is the best move, and I pushed this pawn. Another inaccurate move. Again, computer really likes d4. It's also okay with bishop f1, which is a crazy looking move, but maybe I'll start playing something like this. That looks so fun. And I guess the idea behind f1 is to support the pawn push, support my king, and to play chess. I don't know. I guess the moves to make after this are pretty simple. For example, I could just push d3, and then my knight could develop normally. My bishop is out. But no, computer like c3, which is something I play later on anyway, right? Anyway, e5, takes, castles, and I go c3. Okay, computer doesn't hate it. It's an excellent move. So that's cool. Anyway, b5, I bring the bishop back. Computer liked right away just going probably e2 or f1. Yeah, f1 it liked, which is such a crazy move. Anyway, my bishop gets attacked. And then here I bring the knight back. And this is the beginning of everything falling. D3, D4 were better. For example, here, this is a little bit scary, but it's not the end of the world. Queen G3 to protect this pawn, probably. And apparently this is an even game. And yeah, some people would say this is hard to play because it's hard to develop your pieces. But it's not that hard to develop, right? I mean, it's just not. Something like this, I already have some discovered attack ideas. Not that anyone would necessarily play this, but I'm putting a lot of pressure. Now, I think I saw something like this, but I saw the bishop coming here, and that looked annoying. But I'm able to develop everything. And something like this is dumb. I just take with the queen. Taking with the bishop's probably not great. Discovered it. Just attacks and attacks on the knight. But yeah, this looks very playable. And I might want to go into positions like this. It looks fun. I went d4 after. The funny thing is he had mistakes. The thing I wanted was a complete mistake by me because of f5, which blocks in the bishop. That does not look like an easy move to make, though. Because actually you have e5, you have this threat of discovered attack. The rook sees it. This actually does look scary. But anyway, moving the same piece 50 times is not a great idea. I didn't like this because I feel like I'm just replacing the knight there. But then I have g5. I could develop the bishop finally. And if this, probably heading back is better. The only reason I would say that is because taking, I'm giving the bishop pair. But anyway, I bring the queen here. Another mistake. Computer liked bishop f4. Oh, I considered this move, actually. I really did consider, but then I thought, oh my god, this looks so bad. I'm putting myself in such a dangerous position. I calculated this exact line. I calculated this exact thing, but I thought, I think I thought after this, the queen could just take, or the knight takes. I don't remember. I didn't realize I could just trade everything off. That's funny. That was like one of my first instinctual moves. So after all this, queen h5, I'm just completely losing. Again, f5. What a strong but scary looking piece. You're basically saying my bishop is useless, your rook becomes active, and your queen's actually safe. Because my bishop is useless. I guess. But that's an insane move, maybe, for our level, for my level. Yeah, and this rook move I thought was so clever. I thought it was so clever. Bishop back was fine. My coach... Not my coach. The other chess coach said, why don't you go knight d2? Maybe a move earlier. But computer says g4. I also considered g4, but I thought, why the hell would I weaken my king this much? It's crazy that that's the best move and that the bishop move is the second best. I don't feel bad about that. I think the biggest mistake in this game, I keep moving the same piece a billion times. Here again, I have knight d2. If rook comes here, I probably have the knight here. I have the bishop here, trying to trade everything. And yeah, there's this attack. But again, I could go for this trade, right? Not that he has to trade, but... Anyway, then I come with the best move, the only move that works. This makes the game neutral. Oh, that is so freaking cool. Computer liked knight takes, which is kind of what I wanted. It's funny, all the stuff I wanted, which he thought I would want, were all mistakes. And I guess the idea here is if I take... I'm opening up this double rook. And... oh, right. And I saw some sort of back rank mate ideas here, and here's one of them. So, although my queen does watch the d1 square. But whatever. This is very cool. Here. Yeah, I thought I was so happy when he took here. Like, he basically got rid of all the pressure here. And I thought this was a neutral game. Here, f5 was the best move. Wow. That looks so crazy. Wow, look at that. This is terrible. Yeah. Anyway, he traded. Again, I keep having chances to possibly draw. And then the rook move was possibly my biggest mistake. And here there was literally nothing I could do. Nothing. So, I mean, this was actually much crazier than I expected. I should probably try to understand why the computer thinks of certain moves certain ways. But my biggest blunder was the knight developing move I should have taken. Which, of course, I saw. But then I thought, okay, he could do this intermezzo move, right? And it just looks so bad. Like, look, it looks so bad. Now, this is a draw, apparently. Kind of crazy. I guess, what if he takes? Oh, then what? Yeah, oh, then I take. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you watched this far, say 10. We have 10 days left on this challenge. Appreciate you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.